Okay, cool. So we're gonna get started. Welcome to Java, class number 4 now. I'm Alex. I'm one of your instructors, and Andrea is the other one. I don't know where she is on your screen, but yeah. So yesterday we were talking about if statements, and if you didn't have the chance to come to class yesterday, I think we sent out a recording of the class. So if you want, you can watch that on your own time. But today we're going to be moving on. I'm going to share my screen. Actually, before we do, I'm going to go over, does anyone want to talk about the activity that we did yesterday with the if statements, the magic 8-ball? If anyone had any problems with their code or just want to ask questions about it, or about any code actually, feel free to talk now. So just a reminder, the activity we left off with yesterday was the magic 8-ball, if you were here. So we really hope you guys went home and kind of like played around with it or added more options or just tried to run the code yourself. And so if everyone's good with what we learned before, we're gonna go ahead and start the lesson for today.
Okay, so today we're going to be learning about arrays and array lists, and these are useful because before, when we had a variable like string name is equal to Alex, that variable only holds one value, which is Alex. But with arrays, you can hold more than one value. So you can hold like an int of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but they have to hold the same type. So, yeah.
Okay, do you want me to do an example now?
Wait, first. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so everyone, as always, we're going to want to make a new class so we can do some examples and write some code today during class. So when you open up BlueJ, you have this screen and you click on new class up here and name it whatever you want. So then you get this screen with all of this random code and you're going to delete all of that. And just type
public class array class, or whatever you name your class name.
Public static void main.
And
I'm just gonna copy paste that into the chat in case you don't want to type all of that out.
basically the public static void main string stuff, it just allows you to type code in it and they can run the code too.
Hello, where did the chat go? Well, this is fun. Okay, I can't find the chat, so you guys might just want to copy this down by looking. I'll give you like a minute to catch up.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin, who copy and pasted the code.
Yay. Do you want to go over how to exactly make the array? This
Yeah.
line.
Or like, yeah, okay. So to create an array, you first have to declare the data type.
Oh,
And the data type is just like if it's an int, double, string, and yeah, so you just do int in this example, and then you do these brackets, and the brackets are like above your enter sign, and they're like the square brackets. And then you put the name of what you want to name your array, and then equals new, because we're creating a new array, and then the data type again, and then the brackets. And inside here, inside the brackets, you want to put the size, because for arrays, you have a fixed size. So if you declare a size of 5, then it will only have 5 values, and you can't change it. So you can't add or delete values.
okay, so like we said before, you can make an array of any type of variable. So like int, double, and string, but all of the entries in your array have to be the same type of variable. So an array of all ints or all doubles or all strings. So just to like emphasize just to go over how you make one, I'm going to make an array in BlueJ over here. So an int array, okay, maybe not an int, a string array. So you start with the type of variable, and then brackets to let the computer know it's an array. And then you name the array, like anything you want, so like dogs. And then equals new to let them know you're making a new array, the type of variable again, and then in brackets, how big you want it to be. So I'll go with 7. And that should be it. That is basically how you make an array. And we'll show you how to print it out later. But for now, that's basically all we'll do.
Yeah, so for arrays, to add, like, okay, so first for arrays, it's a bit different, like how you're normally used to. So arrays, they start counting starting from 0. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the index is just like a pointer that points to what value you want to access. So it's kind of confusing, but if in this example you want to put like the number 7 in the first value for the array, you would have to do array brackets 0 bracket equals 7 instead of like array 1. So 0 means the first value.
Yep. That's kind of like you can see in the diagram over here. So like at index 0, that's basically going to be the first entry in the array because we start counting at 0. And then the entry with the index 1 is basically the second entry. So it's kind of shifted a little. And that's really important to remember when you're working with arrays.
Yeah. And so before we set like the value 7 to at index 0, so to print out the value, we would just do system.out.println parentheses and then the array, and then you want to put the index because that's how you refer to the value. So it's kind of like the index is a name tag, and the value is a person. So to call the person, you call them by their name. So the index is kind of like their name.
Yep. So, like I said, we're going to talk about how to print an array, like Andre was just talking about. So, this is basically why you need to know the index, the concept of the index when you're talking about arrays, so that you can properly print it out. Like maybe you just want to print out the third number in your array, and so you would use array bracket 2 because the third entry has the index of 2. That can be really confusing, but you'll get used to it. So, I'm just going to wait. Did we talk about how to add? Okay. So I'm going to fill this array with 7 strings because there are 7 slots in the array. So like we showed you before, you're going to use the name of the array and then in brackets which index you want to add in your element at. So I'll start with 0 because it's the first one. And then it's an array of strings. So I'm going to fill it with names of dogs because I needed dogs. So, oops, Fluffy. I'm gonna make it like 4 because 7 is a lot. I don't know what you name your dogs. Yoki.
Okay. Sure.
Marley. And notice that even though we're ending at index 3, we have 4 entries in our array. Oh, I don't know, man. Amy?
Okay.
Okay. So now maybe you want to print the name of one of these dogs, and to do that, to print a random entry in your array, you're going to use the system.out.println method that we taught you before. So it's really pretty simple. You just go system.out.print. And then, as always, parentheses. And inside the parentheses, this time you're going to call an element of your array using the index that it's at. Basically, how you identify a certain element is always by its index. So I'm just going to print whatever is in index 2. And that's going to be the third entry, and that's Marley. So I want to see if that actually works. So I'm going to compile my code, go down to the brown box, right click, second option, okay, and I printed out Marley.
Yay!
So, that worked. So you can do this with an array of like any type. You can do integers or doubles, whatever you want. And yeah.
Do you guys have any questions?
Please feel free to ask questions, or if you have any errors in your code, we can help you figure it out, especially since we have a smaller class. Andrea, is there anything in the chat? I can't see.
No.
Okay, cool.
We can move on.
Okay, so since you guys don't seem to have any questions, we'll move on to the second part.
Okay, so there's another type that's called an array list, and an array list is a bit more flexible because the size is actually not fixed. So the size can change as you add elements and also as you delete elements. So yeah, it's a bit more flexible. And also for an array list, creating one in Java is a little bit different. First, you have to do array list with a capital A and a capital L. It's just like that. And then these angle brackets, like the less than and greater than sign. And inside there, you want to put the type of array list you want. And instead of doing like int or double or string, you actually want to spell it out. So int becomes integer, and double becomes double, and string becomes string. But it also has to be capitalized, so like capital I integer. And then you name your array list whatever you want, dogs, cats, colors, and then equals new array list again, and then you put the brackets and data type and then parentheses. And inside these parentheses, you can leave it empty, or you can also put the size. So you can put like 3 and it'll have 3 values in it. But if you put 3 values in it, you can also add on to your array, or you can delete items as well.
So like throughout your code, you can change how many values you have in your array list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and make an array list for an example right now while this slide is still on the screen. And I'm just going to comment out the code from before.
Okay. And another thing with ArrayLists, you have to import it. So like right above the public class thing, you want to type import java.util.ArrayList.
This is kind of similar to how we imported the ability to use a container. So we're going to import the ability to use an array list. Okay, so to make an array list, it's just like you see in this slide on the right over here. So you're going to start with the word array list. Careful to do all the capitals in the right places because as we saw in Java is a cap-sensitive language, so it cares about that. So ArrayList, and then less than greater than sign. And inside you're going to put the type of ArrayList you want to make. So I'll just go with double this time. Oops. And then we're going to name our ArrayList. So I'm going to call it scores. No, math scores. Equals new ArrayList. And then the type of ArrayList it is again. So like the type of value, the type of variable you're storing in it. And then parentheses. And a semicolon as always. If you're making your own array list on your own computer, you can like make whatever type you want. I'm just going to go with this. Okay. So tell us if you need more time whenever you do. But right now I'm just gonna move on to the next slide.
Okay, so to add values into our array list, it's just the array list name and then this dot add and then parentheses and then whatever value you want to add into your array list goes inside the parentheses. So ArrayList.add5 adds the value 5 into the array list. And this time you don't have to specify the index, it just adds onto your array list.
At the end.
And to delete an array, to delete a value, this time you want to do the array list name and then dot remove and then the index. And the index 0 removes the first value. And the reason why you want to put the index instead of getting the value is because if we have an array list with like 2 values that are like 11, if you do dot remove 11, meaning you want to remove the value that is 11, but you have 2 11s, then the array list doesn't know which one you want to remove. So yeah, you have to
Basically, yeah, you always call a value by its index.
Yeah.
So next slide. Andrea, do you want to do the next slide?
Oh, sorry. And then to print the value, we would do system.out.println ArrayList name and then dot get, and then we would put the index. Yeah.
So that's like before you tell the computer which element of the index you want using which element of the array you want using its index. Okay, so now that we've made our array list over here, hopefully you made your own on your own computer. I'm going to fill it up with values, and we do that with the dot add method like we talked about before. So the name of the array list, the math scores, dot add, and then we'll go with a 90.5. I just add in a few random ones. So we have values to work with. Notice that it doesn't matter like what size the array list is. As you add more values, it keeps expanding. If you remove values, it gets smaller, and like the size of the array list isn't set permanently. Okay, so I just filled in a few random scores. I'm imagining like scores on a math test, but you can do whatever you want. So right now we just know how to print out like individual elements of an array list. We can teach you how to print out the whole array list or the whole array later, but right now we're just going to concentrate on printing individual elements. So say I just want to know what the third student got on their math test. So like in the slideshow, we're going to use a system.out.println method. Like we said before, that's basically just how you print something out to the computer. Always. The system.out.println. You can do print or println, it doesn't really matter. So the name of the array list, and then to get an element in order to print, when you're using an array list, you're going to use .get, and then inside the parentheses you put whatever is the index of the element you want to print. So since I said I want to do the third student, does anyone want to tell me which index I should put in the parentheses to print out? Or do you have any guess?
2.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure who said that, but like, great job. So we start counting from 0. So therefore, the third element is going to have the index of 2. So when we print this line, we should get 9.8 because that's the third element. So I'm going to compile again, make sure there aren't any errors. Right click, second option, okay. And it printed 99.8. That's exactly what we wanted, and yep. So say we want to remove an element from the array list for some reason. Maybe we just don't need it anymore. Maybe like a student isn't participating anymore or whatever. So maybe I want to remove the fifth element from the array list. So
Maybe
that
your teacher was like, I'm going to drop your lowest test score.
right.
Yay!
So nice to do that. It's very nice. So yeah. So I'm going to remove the fifth element. This is like really similar to the dot. Wait, this is not similar to the dot. Never mind. This is similar to dot get. So to do that, we're just going to use the name and then dot remove. And then inside the parentheses, we put the index of whatever we want to remove. So since I'm doing the fifth element here, I'm going to go with index 4. And I don't really know how I can show you that it removed index 4, but it did. Maybe since this was the last element in the array list, maybe now that we don't have the fifth element anymore, if we tried to print the fifth element, I wonder what the computer would tell us. It would probably be an error, right? Because if we want to print the fifth element, but there is no fifth element, it can't do it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to try that, see what it's going to tell us. So math scores dot get, and then the fifth element is compile and wait, was it supposed to? Okay. Oop. And it didn't print anything, and it told us there's out of bounds exception. So index 4 is out of bounds because our array list is only 4 elements long, so it doesn't have an index 4 and it can't print it.
Yeah, because it has 0, 1, 2, and 3 index.
Yep, so basically right now, since we removed index 4, all we have in the array list is this. But maybe, what if we remove the second element, so this one? So that would mean everyone's indexes are gonna shift. So if this one like just gets removed, then 99.8 is going to have the index of 1 now instead of 2. Everyone's index is going to become 1 less because we removed that. If that makes sense. So if you imagine them all like in a books in a bookshelf, if you remove one of the books, all the rest of the books are gonna slide over and take its place.
Mm-hmm.
So yep, I'm gonna give you guys like a couple minutes to maybe catch up or play around with both arrays and array lists. And then we're gonna do a short activity. Okay, so if anyone has any questions about what we just taught you about arrays and array lists, how to add things, how to remove things, how to print them, go ahead and ask them. Like unmute yourself or type in the chat. Or any errors in your code that you can't figure out. Okay then, so if no one has any questions, we're going to move on. We just have a short fun activity for today. We're going to simulate having an inventory in a pet shop. So, we're going to use an array list for this because it's just more flexible. Maybe the pet shop, sometimes it has 5 pets up for adoption, but maybe sometimes it has 7. And you just don't want to like put a hard limit on how big the inventory can be. So we're going to make an array list to like simulate like holding the holding all the information about holding the names of the pets in the pet shop. Um, okay, so in order to make an array list like we did before, we're going to type, oh, and remember that like when you start a new class and you want to use ArrayLists, you have to use this import statement. Okay, so you write ArrayList, just like to let them know you're making an array list. And then for this, we're going to want to make, ooh, does anyone want to tell us what type of array list we want to make in order to keep track of animals in a pet shop? Lena, do you have a guess? Or anyone else?
String.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly right. Usually array lists are like often strings because you store like names of people in a class or things like that. So we're going to make it an array list of strings. So inside your greater than less than signs, you put the word string, and then you name the array list. So I'm going to call mine pet shop, but you can call yours whatever you want. And then new array list type again, and then parentheses. And as always, your semicolon. And in here, you can put spaces or you don't have to. It's just like personal preference, but I think it looks easier and it's easier to like keep track of and look at if you put a lot of spaces. Whatever you want. So I'm going to fill this array list of strings with a lot of pet names. All the names of the pets I think the pet shop has up for adoption. And this is kind of like what we did before, but with names and strings. So pet shop dot add. I'm so bad at coming up with names. You guys go ahead and like add your own names, but I'm just gonna do this over here.
Cotton candy.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not what I would name my dog.
Does anyone like have a pet? If you do, like I can add their name in. Okay, I'll do one more. Okay. So now I have this array list of strings that has all of these pet names in it. And I'm just saying that these names are the names of pets in the pet shop. And so maybe we'll make a program where the user can tell the computer a random number from like 1 through 6, and then we can like we can assign them or like give them the pet that's in that index. Now I realize that you'll want to ask them for 0 through 5, but okay. So in order to ask the user for input and to get their input back and use it in your code, we're going to use the scanner like we talked about before. So we need to import the ability to use a scanner. So we type at the top of our class, before we name the class, import java.util.scanner. And like you can see, that's really similar to ArrayList. Okay, and down here, basically wherever you want to put it, I'm going to make a scanner tool. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Scanner, you can name your scanner whatever you want. I know we like use the word input before, but I like to use scan. System.in, is that how you do it? Okay, cool. And yeah, so like I said, you can change this to input or whatever you want. And this line of code can go anywhere in your code, as long as it's before the pet shop stuff. And so we're going to print out to the user, like, hi, enter a number. Okay, so we're going to take this number and like use it as the index of the pet that they get. So basically we're asking them for an index number. And since indexes start counting at 0 and go up, we're going to ask them to enter a number between 0 to 5, because there are 6 entries in here, so the last index is going to be 5.
You can also do this with like the pet name, but it's a bit more complicated and it uses like if statements and stuff. So yeah, we're just gonna stick with index.
Yep. But yeah, there's totally a way where maybe they want serious and they can type in the word serious and we can do it that way, but it's a little more complicated, like Andrea said. So in order to print something out to the user, as always, we go system.out.print line if you want. And inside the parentheses, we're going to print out a string. So we'll go, hello, welcome to the pet shop. Enter a number from 0 to 5 to get a pet. And this is what the computer is gonna tell the user. And so once the user reads that statement, they're going to, okay, I'll type in a number from 0 to 5. And in order to get that value, we're going to make an int variable that will store whatever they type in. And it's going to be an int variable because since it's a number from 5, it's going to be a whole number, an integer. So we're going to make an integer value. Hope you guys remember how to do this from before, but if not, no worries, you can always review. So int I'm gonna name it response and then equals. And this is where the scanner comes in. So we're going to use our scanner tool like we made up here and go scan dot next int. And that should take whatever the user types in and store that in an int variable that we named response. I'll give you like a minute to catch up. Okay, so once they type in their index, we're going to tell the user the name of the pet that they received. So in order to do that, we do it like before and use the .get method. So we're going to do system.out.print. And just go, your pet is, remember to put a space after whatever you typed, because if not, it's going to go, your pet is strawberry, because the computer doesn't know to put in a space. So you need to put in your space right here. And then plus, and then we're going to use the .get method and do pet shop .get response. And we're going to use response here because remember we basically asked the user for the index of the pet they want. And then we're going to use that index in the get statement to get it and print it out. And I'm just going to add a period because it makes me feel better. And if we really want to be fancy, we can actually remove that pet from our pet shop array list since the user quote unquote got the pet, so it's not in the pet shop anymore. So we're gonna do that just like we did before and go pet shop dot remove. And then remember here we put the index. We can't call the element by the actual element, so we can't go like remove serious, because what if there are two seriouses in the pet shop, like Andrea said before, and it doesn't really know which one to remove. So we're going to remove it using its index, and we know the index because the user typed it in and we stored it in response. So we're going to go remove the element at the integer response. Okay. So I'm going to compile this. Hopefully you guys are caught up by now. And I'm just going to run it through one time and then we'll be done with the class today. So we'll go here, right click on the brown box. Second option, okay. And yay, the first part of the code works. It types, hello, welcome to the pet shop, and a number from 0 to 5. So I'm just gonna go with 3. And it told us our pet is cotton candy. And that's right, because cotton candy is the 4th one in the array, so that means its index is 3, and so therefore our pet is cotton candy. And so our code works. And you guys can go home and play around with this code, run it as many times as you want. But right now we're going to be done with class for today. Does anyone have any questions? Anything at all? Does anyone have any errors? Okay then. So we are done for class with today. I think that's all. Andrea, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay, so we hope you guys had fun and learned something new. And if you're free to go home and practice if you want. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming. I think the next class is Wednesday.
Okay.
See you all.
Thank you. Bye.
I'm again meeting. So see ya.
Okay, bye.